Hello and welcome to your tarot forecast for the full moon in Sagittarius 2022. So if you're new to this channel, I am Michelle Shea Walker. I'm an intuitive coach, a tarot reader, a Reiki healer, and a yoga instructor living in Chicago, Illinois. And I am here to give you your full moon tarot forecast. These videos happen every full and new moon, both on Instagram and YouTube. And then there's an extended reading that always happens over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Michelle Shea. So if anything in this reading resonates with you, you'll want to head over to the Patreon and join the monthly mystics to get the extended reading as well as access to our monthly tarot scopes, weekly pick-a-card readings, and the full moon tarot event that happens live the Sunday after each full moon. So that is coming up this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time. And if you want the details for that, there will be a link below for one-time tickets, or Patreon monthly mystics get access automatically on a monthly basis. So without further ado, we're going to dive into a format that we did on the new moon most recently, which is a little switch up for our normal routine. Normally we would do 4 oracle cards for the general collective and then dive deeper with some tarot cards for the Patreon members. But I had such a good response doing the elemental forecast during the general reading during the last video that I've decided to go ahead and move forward with doing those for the time being. So what we're going to do is we are going to start, as we always do, with a card pull from the Total Betty Goddess deck. So the Total Betty Goddess deck is a deck of my creation. It's got 90s icons playing the goddesses. So if you are into 90s nostalgia, these are definitely the cards for you. And we are going to shuffle it up and find out what goddess is residing over this full moon. So who wants to come out and play and protect the energy? Shuffling up the deck, and we'll see who we've got. So our Total Betty Goddess for the Sagittarius full moon is Jillian, played by Ginger Spice of the Spice Girls. So this goddess is here as a little breath of fresh air for our summer season. We are not quite in the summer season as we move into Cancer on June 21st, but we are getting into that sort of, the word that's coming to me is Twitter-pated from Bambi. So Jillian is the goddess of flirtation, of independence, but also in having fun with the whatever chosen sex you like to flirt with. And this is definitely a sign that the energy is getting lighter. We're becoming a little more social, having a little more time out with others, and being able to just have a little bit of coy fun. This doesn't necessarily indicate that there are some really serious relationships coming up. It's just about setting the intention to go out in the world and connect with others in a way that feels playful. So it's kind of a little inner child play. So I encourage you to find ways to connect to others, whether you are in a relationship or looking for a relationship or completely happy being single. Just find a way to connect to others in a way that feels playful this week and for the remainder of the month as well, because it's going to serve not only the opening of some relationships that might have a better chance with that energy than they would if it was more serious, but it's also just going to open up a way to create with the world around you. And that is definitely something that is going to serve us well as we move into summer months. So we're going to start shuffling the cards, and I'm going to move through the elements. So because this is the Sagittarius full moon, we're going to start with the fire sign elements. Then we'll move into our water sign, our air sign, and our earth sign. So the fire signs are Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries. So if you have those as your sun, your moon, your rising, or maybe even your Venus or your Mars, this would be a good little elemental reading for you. So I'm going to shuffle up the deck. We are using the Lioness Oracle deck this month. It just called to me for whatever reason. So we're going to shuffle that up. And we're going to do an energy and advice for each of the elementals. So the energy underneath the deck for fire signs is the Two of Swords. And then the advice on top of the deck is the Knight of Cups. Right away, I'm getting a very Jillian appropriate energy here, because the message of Jillian in the Total Betty Goddess deck is to rescue yourself. There's a subtitle for each of the goddesses that gives a little summary, and this is Find Your Own Freedom. So traditionally, Jillian is a goddess that is sort of a prize for the men in the story, and that she is placed at the center of a labyrinth, and the men are then competing to go and rescue her. And because the Total Body Goddess deck is always striving to take these goddesses and make them even more modernized and empowered, Jillian, played by Ginger Spice, is now her own rescuer. So I'm really getting a good rescue energy for you fire signs here, in that whatever situation you find yourself stuck in, whatever it is that you're trying to move forward in your life, because the Two of Swords represents a sort of feeling of being caught between a rock and a hard place. This is definitely a full moon energy that's gonna give you the tools that you need to be your own rescuer. You're going to be your own Knight of Cups. So again, I want to come back to that Jillian is a flirtatious energy. It's about getting out in the world and connecting to others. But if you have any sort of mindset that's about needing to find someone else in your life to feel rescued or to feel like you can get out of this stuck place, it's definitely saying, like, no, you are your own knight in shining armor. So fire signs, don't assume that you are going to move into some sort of codependent relationship where you are relying on someone else to rescue you. This could be both relationship as in romantic, or it also could be in your career. So if you're looking for some deus ex machina to like come in and save you from your career situation, know that you are your own best rescuer in these scenarios. So the message that I have for the fire signs this full moon is to really find the confidence in your own abilities to rescue yourself. Maybe make a list of the times that you have gotten yourself out of a situation without other people's help. And for some of you, I think that this is going to be something that is new for you. You really do like relying on other people to sort of swoop in and do the dirty work or clean things up for you. And this is really a lesson that's being integrated now for you to be able to clean up your own mess, for you to be able to rescue yourself from certain situations. And it really should come with a sense of empowerment. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, that sounds exhausting, switch the perspective, switch it up and think of yourself as your knight in shining armor. And then from there, you can also be for the people around you that much better, because you're not relying on them to rescue you. You're relying on yourself, and then you're showing up for your relationships with a more balanced perspective, a more balanced power at play. So there's no longer going to be this sort of like hierarchy of damsel in distress and knight in shining armor. You're both going to be your own knight in shining armor, and then that's going to take a lot of pressure off of the relationship in ways that it doesn't need to be there. We have a Two of Cups that's just falling out of the deck while I'm shuffling. So I really think that this ability to rescue yourself and become your own advocate in all of these situations without relying on someone else or hoping that someone else is going to swoop in is actually going to open up the space for a really great partnership. But you have to get through this mindset that you've had in the past of waiting for someone to come in when you are the one that's supposed to be taking action. And this also could mean that if you're waiting for a relationship to happen and you want someone to just kind of drop in your lap or ask you out, you might be the one that needs to be doing the asking out, which quite frankly, fire signs, you shouldn't have that much of a problem with this. This should be just a slight tweaking of the mindset, because fire signs tend to be pretty good at like following their passions and following their impulses. So there's just a little something here that's holding you back. And maybe it's the way that the culture has portrayed it to you, if you're, particularly if you're a female, if you've been thinking all your life that, you know, the men are the ones that are supposed to do the chasing and the women are just supposed to sit back and receive. There is an element here of switching that up. And another card flipping out of the deck, I don't normally pull this many cards, but they're wanting to come out. The Ace of Pentacles, this also is going to serve you better in business as well. So I do think that for fire signs listening, we have both scenarios. Some of you might have both of them together, but we definitely have some fire signs that are doing some relationship shifting and some signs that are doing a career shift. And either way, the more that you can really embody your own knight in shining energy, and you can get yourself out of these situations yourself without waiting for someone to come rescue you, the more you're going to move forward into a really powerful place that's going to attract the appropriate partners, be they romantic or business. So moving forward, we're going to go into our water signs next. So water signs would be Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. So if you have those as your sun, your moon, your rising, or maybe even your Venus or your Mars, feel free to listen up for the following cards. And we are diving in with the energy underneath the deck of the Page of Wands. And the advice on top of the deck is the Queen of Pentacles. try that again. The Queen of Pentacles. Okay, so for my water signs, you are going through a bit of a spiritual reawakening or awakening. It's probably a reawakening though. I feel like most of you have already gone through what you thought was the only spiritual awakening you'd ever need, and surprise, surprise, there are many of those that happen throughout our lifetimes. So don't ever feel like you've learned everything that you could learn about your spirituality. It's always going to continue to unfold, and that's the whole process of being here on this planet as an incarnated being. So be okay with that. Make peace with that. Because the Page of Wands is really saying that there's a bit of, I'm getting very Ring of Fire energy here. So it's definitely coming through this place that feels kind of risky, that feels like maybe you might get burnt. Maybe it's by taking a risk by making a move in a relationship. Maybe it's taking a risk by speaking up. I'm getting a little bit of family energy here. So if you have a family of origin that is maybe not approving of what you want, or you just need to speak up for yourself more in that scenario, that's definitely coming through here. Again, Jillian is our goddess of rescuing yourself. So you are definitely trying to push through the discomfort of conflict, quite frankly, because water signs are not the best at conflict. And this is definitely saying that if you can get comfortable with allowing yourself to be at peace and be rooted in yourself and be rooted in your stance during conflict, then you're actually going to find this beautiful blossoming of this new sense of intuition and this new sense of what's right for you and what's wrong for you. And through that, the advice is coming in with the Queen of Pentacles, which is saying that you actually have more power than you're giving yourself credit for. So something about this spiritual awakening has kind of like shook you up a little bit, and that you don't really feel like you know who you are right now. And that's pretty normal for a spiritual awakening. And so I'm getting this feeling of like you're almost slipping back or regressing into this more childlike state where you feel like you need to rely on other people around you to sort of guide you through. And the Queen of Pentacles is coming in and saying like, no, actually you don't. Like, it may feel like you need others to guide you through this, but you already have all the answers. Because this isn't your first spiritual awakening, you are definitely tapping into intuition. Up your meditation practice if you don't already. Journaling, I would say be very mindful. Very ironic to say this in a tarot card reading that you're watching online. Be very mindful of who you seek out outside intuitive influence from, because there is a feeling here, and I myself have fallen prey to this, where if you're kind of struggling for that spiritual, anchor to hook yourself into, you might start going a little overboard with watching tarot readings on YouTube or asking other people for advice. And this is really saying like, it's not that you can't ask others for advice or seek out outside opinions, but be very, very, very selective and be very mindful if you start going overboard with doing that, because you actually have the answer better than anyone else is. The readers are just going to be reading into your energy and giving you information that you already have. And anytime you seek out an intuitive reader, you're getting something from their human perspective as well. No matter how good a reader they are, they're going to be telling the story through their lens. And so there's this feeling here of making sure that if you do seek out intuitive counsel, that you have someone that has either a similar lens to you or a lens that you aspire to have. And if you find that you are trying to seek out outside influences too often, pull back and go within, because you have the answers. And I think that you're almost getting like a feeling of like too many cooks in the kitchen if you're seeking out too much advice. And this may not be tarot readings, it may not be intuitive advice, it may be just advice on whatever it is that you're working on right now in your life, and other people are trying to give you advice and it's muddling up what you actually know to be true for yourself. So trust your instincts, trust your intuition. If you do need to seek out advice, make sure that they're of a similar or aspirational vibration so that you're getting something that really feels like it's moving you forward in your progression of your spiritual awakening. And just allow yourself to trust that you are powerful enough to bring yourself through this, and that conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing if it's coming from a place of your deeply rooted intuition. So moving on from our water signs, we'll go into our earth signs next. So earth signs, we have Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. Sorry guys, don't have any earth in my chart, so it takes me a little while to conjure those forward. So Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Your energy for this full moon underneath the deck is 8 of Pentacles. And your advice on top is the Ace of Cups. So, okay, for our earth signs, you are, this is an interesting energy that's coming through. For earth signs, there's definitely business that's being taken care of here. So your money is definitely getting into a place of you're going through a bit of an apprenticeship. So this could be in your actual career, you're in an apprenticeship where you're trying to learn more about your craft, you're trying to become an even better expert at something that you already know a lot about. So you might be going back to school, you might be just finding a mentor that you can kind of help guide you in through the business world. Or it could also mean that you're becoming an apprentice in your actual money. So it could be that you're educating yourself more on finances and investments and things that maybe you haven't looked into in the past. And through this, there's an Ace of Cups energy that's coming through. So there's something about this that's also creative. So I feel like for a lot of you, what's happening is you might have a career that is a little more grounded, a little more rooted, a little more earth-based. So maybe it's very logical, maybe it's very scientific, maybe it is, maybe it's rooted in finances. And then the advice that's coming through on this full moon is to make something creative a part of that. So I'm getting a little bit of a conflict here where it feels like it may not go hand in hand. I'm gonna call out a specific Taurus in my life that I know that really fits this reading, in that she works in a very scientific field, but she's also very skilled in art as well. And she's recently taken the topic of her scientific field and started doing it as artwork. And I think that that's kind of a good sort of like aspirational goal for a lot of you earth signs. So it's going to be different from each of you, which is why I can't get a really concrete example, but my friend is a really good example of the energy that's coming through here, and that like just because you didn't make the arts your career doesn't mean that you can't make your career blend in with your artistic talents. So really be okay with branching out with that. And with Jillian in our goddess position, I feel like it might be something that's a more social thing. So if you are interested in the arts, like maybe it's that you start going to a community like drawing class or an event. There's a lot of events in a lot of cities that's like a drink and sketch type event. So seek some of that stuff out if it's an art-based thing. But whatever your creative field is, there does feel like there's a social element to how you're going to incorporate into your life. So maybe you're not going to actually take it to your job and do something there with it. Maybe it's that you just start doing something that's within a community that is also based around this creativity. So, but make it a part of your routine. It does feel like it has to be a grounded thing. You want it to be something that you really aren't just doing it like as a one-off. You are doing it as something that you put on your calendar and you go every month. And we have a couple cards that pulled out of the deck, which are the 3 of Swords and the 5 of Wands. So with these added into our spread, for someone watching this may not be for everyone, but for someone watching this, there's a very specific story coming through that this creativity, or maybe it's in the career, there's some really hurtful form of competition feeling that's coming through with one of these two things. So it could be that your career is getting really cutthroat and it feels like you're constantly competing with your coworkers, and that's been really heartbreaking to like see that happen. And then this artistic pursuit is going to be your vacation from that. Or it could be that the reason that you've held back from this artistic pursuit is because of something from your past that made that artistic pursuit feel very competitive as well, and it took the fun out of it. So someone watching this is definitely having an issue with embarking upon this other aspect of their personality because of a feeling of competition killing the passion for it. So whichever direction this is going, the artistic pursuit is going to help with that. So if you are someone that in the past, the artistic pursuit was killed because of the sense of competition, finding that supportive community and making it a social event and lightening the energy around it is really gonna help you. And then that's gonna also help you in other aspects of your life because you're gonna be feeling more fulfilled and more well-rounded. And then if you are the person that feels like their job is becoming really cutthroat, this artistic pursuit as sort of like an outlet for your emotions and also something to just take a break from your work world is going to actually make the work world feel more bearable. So earth signs, I want you to embrace a little bit of the cups energy, the watery energy of like letting yourself be creative in a way that doesn't necessarily have to have something that's grounded in finances or something that's grounded in something logical. Be creative for the sake of being creative and for the social outlet that comes with it, because that does feel very important for you earth signs. Whatever this artistic pursuit is, find a way to make it a social event, whether it be something that someone else has organized, or maybe it's something that you just invite friends over to do like a paint and drink night. Whatever it is, find a way to make it social, because that's going to help release and decompress some of this competitive pressure that's somewhere in your life. All right, that was a pretty cool story. So moving on, last but definitely not least, we have our air signs. So we have Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Sorry, Gemini. Love you. We're in your season. It was just, there was so much Gemini in the air that I just couldn't tap into it. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We are moving into your air sign energy. I'm gonna shuffle a table shuffle just to make sure it's nice and reset. And underneath the deck, the energy for our air signs is the Star card, which is played by David Bowie in this deck. I don't even know what Bowie's sun sign is.
Yes, I do. He's a Capricorn, and I've made items for him in my shop.
But he reads to me as an air sign because he is an Aquarius rising, like myself. And then the advice on top is the Five of Swords. So I'm going to pull one more card on top of that Five of Swords. Justice. Okay, first of all, air signs, you have two beautiful rainbows in this reading. So you have a little bit of a conflict of emotions in these readings, air signs, and I understand you. I get you. The star is coming in letting you know that you are being incredibly blessed by the universe right now. So, you know, the spirit of David Bowie is shining down upon you, and all is good and all is great, and the universe is aligning with your manifestations at this time. The Five of Swords, however, is coming in implying that you may be a little too caught up in your head to notice the amazing things that are coming forward for you. So the reason I pulled the other card is because I wanted a little clarity around that Five of Swords, and with the Justice card coming in as our other card, there's definitely a sense of balance that needs to be struck in this scenario. It feels like maybe you have a tendency lately to waffle back and forth between the two extremes of really grateful for everything in your life and then really critical of everything in your life. And it feels like this pendulum is swinging back and forth based on like things going your way or things not going your way, which is for most of us. Like if things are going our way, it's really easy to be grateful. If things aren't going your way, but it seems extra sensitive right now. So I would say be very mindful of that. If you don't have a daily gratitude practice, I know it sounds so cliche, but just at the end of every day, writing down 3 things that happened within that day that you're grateful for is a really great way to keep yourself in that space of gratitude. Because what's happening here is the star is shining down upon you and wanting to give you everything that you've wished for, but you have to remain in a state of gratitude for that to happen, because you call in like attracts like. So if you are in a state of gratitude, if you're feeling happy, if you're feeling successful, more happiness and success will find you. If you're feeling like nothing ever goes right for you, the universe is going to then show you that as well. And it feels like what's been happening for you air signs lately is you are doing really well with your gratitude for like a couple days or like a week, and you're like, cool, I'm doing good with my gratitude. I should be getting everything that I want right now. And then one tiny little thing goes wrong, or it doesn't even feel like it goes wrong. It feels like something gets stalled or doesn't immediately come to fruition. And you start to slip into that negative mindset. You start to slip into this space of, well, this gratitude thing doesn't work. Nothing ever goes right for me. And it's like this thing that was like right at your door gets pulled away when that happens. So I think it's going to be as simple as a gratitude practice and putting something down on paper, because it feels like you need to keep track of how many days in a row you're feeling grateful. And if you are constantly doing a gratitude practice on a nightly basis and writing down things that you're grateful for, that's going to be easier to keep that streak going. Whereas it feels like, yeah, like I feel like if you start looking at it as like a streak, the longer you can get that streak going, the more you're going to start seeing results from the outside world. And if you're keeping track of it down somewhere that you can actually flip back and count, like how many days did I do my gratitude or whatever, you can start to get a feeling for like where it is that you're sort of like hanging yourself up. If it's like every 5 days you have a bad day and you stop being grateful, what happens if you go that 6th day and hold on to that gratitude? And I feel like you're going to start to see rewards for that, even in the tiniest forms. Like if you can just be like, okay, every 5 days, I know that on that 6th day I have trouble holding on to gratitude, and you just make a really good intention that 6th day you're going to do a lot of stuff that you really like. You're going to talk to people that you really love. You're going to make sure that you give yourself something to be grateful for. Then I think on that 7th day, you're going to have a little mini prize of some sort to show you that you're on the right track. It might not be your full manifestation, but there's something about getting that streak going further than it has before. And every time you do that, so then after you've done it for 6 days, when you finally do a 7-day streak, then you'll get another reward. And that's gonna keep moving forward, and that momentum's gonna keep flowing through. But I mean, above all else, you have such a powerful manifesting energy going on in your life right now, and it would be a shame not to take advantage of that. So I hope that these readings have served you well. If you enjoyed these elemental readings, we're going to dive into a longer version of our tarot card reading, and it's going to be over on the Patreon. So it won't be elemental, but the thing about the Patreon readings is because it's a smaller group, I'm tapping into a smaller amount of energy, so it's really easy to get very clear messages for that group. Just like if I was having a one-on-one reading with you, it would be your energy and only your energy I'm picking up on. When I do these mass readings, there's a lot of energy of the people that end up watching this that I'm picking up on while I'm doing the reading. Whereas when I do the Patreon reading, it's just that select Patreon group. So if you want to join the monthly mystics over there, feel free to head over to patreon.com/Michelle Shea. And if you're watching on the Patreon, the rest of your reading starts right now.